Hi, my name is Jackie, and this is my play performance project. So for Carol, I chose the actress Rosamund Pike. Carol is someone who is bright, she's educated, a progressive for her time, and she's someone who's excited to see what she can accomplish in the world, and she wants to bring change and inspire those around her, and I think she quickly realizes that that may not be possible in Gopher Prairie just because they are all so conservative. Rosamund has the kind of presence on screen about her where she can portray a powerful woman no matter the circumstance, and she just does it in such a effortless way that is so captivating yet polarizing at times, and I think that kind of contrasts Carol and her relationship with the town. And even if she chooses a role that is controversial and the character isn't perfect, I think she does it in such a great way because she just has such great range and the experience, obviously. And I feel like she'd be a breath of fresh air to the role, which is how I feel whenever I see her on screen, regardless of the role that she's in. And I know that at one point it said that she had black hair, and Rosamund is obviously blonde. So just pretend that she has black hair, and yeah. And then her two notable works that I chose to highlight are Gone Girl and Pride and Prejudice, just because they display like her incredible range when it comes to roles for people that are so differently. In Gone Girl, she's, a little bit crazy. And then Pride and Prejudice, she is very soft spoken and sweet, and it's obviously a period piece. So, yeah, they're both incredible films, and all the ones that I will highlight are ones that I have previously seen. And then for Will, I chose the actor Jon Hamm. John is also another actor that I immediately pictured as Will when it came to casting him, so there was really no changing my mind when it came to him. I think John has the skill to portray someone like Will who is so charming yet dull at the same time, because I think Will is a little bit boring throughout the novel, even though he's like super intelligent because he's a doctor. I just find him a little bit boring, and even though he's all those things, he's not really spineless or anything. He knows how to defend himself when it comes to Carol and how she speaks about Gopher Prairie and then some of the people in the town. So I think there are layers to him, but I just really didn't see them throughout the novel. I think if we would have seen Will through a different perspective that was not Carol, maybe like his own, I probably would have connected with him as a character a little bit more, but I just found him kind of bland. He is someone who's very content with his life, even when he encourages Carol to move to Gopher Prairie to bring change, and he respects her views even if he disagrees with them a lot of the time. He likes how things are, but he encourages her to come because she's so wide-eyed and excitable and determined to change the world. But he is frustrated with her because she thinks she's the only person in Gopher Prairie that has big dreams, and that's obviously not the case. And he never really hints about wanting to actually leave Gopher Prairie because obviously he's content with how his life is, and I think his biggest dissatisfaction in the novel was that he just didn't know how to make Carol happy. But back to John, I think he just has the experience on screen where he can portray a character that seemed bland on paper, but he will just bring a twist to it that will just make him a lot more captivating. And yeah, like I said, probably if we would have seen him through his own eyes or somebody else's, it probably would have been a little bit less boring. So yeah, that's Will. And then as far as notable works for Jon Hamm, I have Mad Men. It's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. He plays the main role of Don Draper. It's in the 60s. They work at an advertising agency in New York. And then Bad Times at El Royale. It's not great. It's a little bit boring, but he's good in it, and Chris Hemsworth is shirtless the entire time he is on screen, so that's good. For Vita, when it came to her, I wanted to pick somebody that I feel like Carol would actually be friends with in Go for Prairie, and then Jennifer Connelly came to mind because I think she's like absolutely stunning, and I haven't really seen a lot of her stuff, but anything that I've seen, she's really good in. And I think she just also has the range to portray a role that is dramatic, like Vita, a little bit, just because of her past with Will and then her relationship with Carol. It's a little bit love-hate, so yeah. Vita is obviously someone who agrees with Carol that the town is boring, but she is judgmental over some of the measures that Carol takes to accomplish her goals. And with her being previously involved with Will, I think that just there's a spanner in the works, and she thinks of ways that she could make Will happier because I think she can sense that Carol makes him like miserable. So I think Jennifer is like the perfect person to portray somebody that just seems nice and pretty normal, since Vita is a teacher, even though she has like a little bit of a dark secret with like her and Will. And then obviously I think her and John would have pretty good chemistry on screen if we were to get to see their relationship like play out like before or either afterwards. So yeah. And then for notable works for her, I chose Beautiful Mind. I found it a little boring. It's okay. And then Requiem for a Dream, a little bit trippy, but it's really good and sad. So yeah. So when it came to Guy, I immediately thought of Richard Madden. I think he just would fit the role pretty well because he's attractive enough to catch Carol's eye, and I just believe that him and Rosamund would have pretty good chemistry together, and he is versatile enough that the role would suit him. I think anything he does is good, and he's severely underrated, and he definitely has working on a period drama under his belt. Obviously, he was in Game of Thrones, so he would be perfect. Guy is a romantic, but he is also a victim of what he calls a village virus, which is what he believes happens when you move to a small town because it destroys people's creativity. And I think he's someone who is comfortable in the town but doesn't want to risk the comfortness of Gopher Prairie, which disappoints Carol a little bit. Richard has this charm about him on screen that is just so captivating. He's such a good actor. And yeah, I think he would just be great for this role, and I think seeing him in a little bit more of a toned down role, because he's done pretty dramatic stuff, would be kind of good to see him a little bit more chilled out. And then for his notable works, obviously he was in Game of Thrones. He plays Robb Stark, and spoiler alert, he dies. So very sad, but he was incredible in it, even though he was only in it for like 2 seasons, I think. And then Bodyguard, another incredible show by him that supposedly was renewed by Netflix, but I don't know, which I'm very upset about because it's very good and he was amazing in it. So these are very dramatic and intense roles, so I feel like maybe having him in a more toned down role would be a little bit better. And then for my last role, I have Bryan Cranston as Miles. And I think Bryan Cranston would just be incredible because not only is he one of the best actors currently in Hollywood, I just think he is good enough to have the range to portray someone like Miles. Miles is not very liked in the town, and people only call him when they need him, and he thinks very oppositely to what people in the town do. He hates conservatism, and then eventually he like settles down and stops saying such controversial things that upsets everybody. But it disappoints Carol because they had like conversations about like politics and stuff because they have some of the same beliefs. But obviously when his wife and son die, he leaves Gopher Prairie because he feels like he has nothing left to live for. And I also couldn't really get an idea in the novel of Miles's actual age. So ideally, I would prefer it if Brian was a little bit younger to portray the role because I think he would definitely do it justice because he is talented enough. He doesn't need much for a role because anything he does it incredibly. And he wouldn't have any trouble playing such a polarizing figure in the town like Miles. I think of Walter White from Breaking Bad because he was so problematic and erratic at times that it could be a perspective that people have of Miles purely because there's a stark contrast in beliefs that he has in comparison to the town. He's seasoned enough as an actor to portray someone that is so ostracized and isolated from his own community, so he would do an amazing job. And then, obviously, for his notable works, I chose Breaking Bad, another incredible TV show that he played Walter White in. It's incredible. I love it so much. I've seen it like 4 times. And then The Infiltrator, which was a pretty good film. So, yeah, that was my play performance project. I hope you enjoyed.